Well, this is Rod Olson again, and this is the Legacy Builder Sport Discipleship Series, and this is Coaching to Win God's Way DVD for the leader and facilitator of the group. Well, we finally entered our last week, week 12, and I'm going to thank you so much for staying with us and finishing this study to fruition. And last week we discussed getting in the game. You know, he's calling you out. What are you going to do? You know, and we spent a lot of time talking about how just one person's obedience can inspire others to do really great things. And it's really an infectious thing that happens when other coaches see other coaches coaching with biblical principles, and it spurs them on. So I want to encourage you to do that. Now, one of the things that happens, though, at this point, you're going to have a lot of coaches, and you may have had it last week, even ask you, well, what can I do? How can I get involved? What's going on? You know, I want to do something. Well, this is what this lesson is for. We've spent a lot of weeks talking about things that they can do and what God's doing in their life, what their purpose is in the kingdom, and how they can leave a legacy. Now it's important that we don't just leave them hanging out there. We've equipped them, that we've empowered them. Now we need to give them a menu of things to do. That's very important, okay? And the number one thing that we're going to talk about, again, is in Isaiah 49:6. You know, God is calling us out. You know, He wants us to do as much as we can for Him. And we're called to do that. You know, and so it's important that we understand, you know, a couple of things here. And the title of this lesson is Get in the Game, More is Caught Than is Taught. They're never going to learn how to do any of this stuff if they don't try it. And they've already been trying a bunch of it. But it's very important now that they have fun and they get excited and that we give them a menu of things to do. And that's what this lesson is about. So, you know, we talk about going to a clinic and you get a bunch of great ideas, and then just like this DVD, you get all this talk from me and all this information, and then every once in a while you go, oh man, Rod talked about this, but boy, I wish I could call him up and just figure out what he meant by that, or it's not working as good for me, or I go to a clinic and I put a drill in that I like and I get back and the drill's not just working the way I want it. I wish I had the coach there to help me. Well, that's what this lesson is for. So encourage your members of your group to jot down just a few things that they have some questions on maybe over the last 11 weeks, and then you're going to discuss that with them and help clarify with them. But if you have any questions, again, you can email me anytime you'd like, and you can find that at coachesministry.com. Now, let's talk a little bit about impacting the players and the teams that they coach. This is the number one way that they can make a difference. And we've been talking about this for 11 weeks, that the number one way that these coaches can make a difference in their players' lives and also in their kids at home is by coaching biblically with their teams and with their players and being a biblical dad or mom at home. That's crucial that they commit to that process. Now, how do you do that? Well, I tell you what, I've learned two things. And this is what I believe they boil down to. Number one is I want to create memorable experiences for my players and my team. What does that mean? Well, that means that I'm going to look for opportunities that I'm going to burn a memory into their brain, and I'm going to burn a principle into their brain by something that I do or something that we create as a staff or a team. For instance, I used to take my team, and we used to go to the restaurants, and we'd be sitting in the restaurant, and the waitress would come over, and I'd make sure I get the waitress's name, and there'd maybe be a couple of waitresses helping us, and I'd make it a point that while we're in that restaurant, they all say please and thank you, and yes sir, and no sir, and yes ma'am, and no ma'am, and they know all that. But before our meal's finished and she comes over and hands me the check, I am going to tell that waitress that she's one of the best waitresses that we've ever had. And I'm going to speak greatness into her. I'm going to give her some put-ups. And then our team is going to give her a standing ovation in the middle of that restaurant. Now, what have we done? I've created a memorable experience on how to develop servant leadership and how to bless other people. Now, that doesn't make me any better than the other person, but the reality is that's the platform that I have because I'm the head coach or I'm the assistant coach in charge of the restaurant or the food. Now the question is, well, how do I do that though? You know, how can I do that just like in a normal team setting, you know, in something like that? Well, you know, we can put up signs and you can put up and give speeches and all that kind of stuff. But as we look on page 32, you're going to find that there's another thing that I put on here that really we thought is a neat deal. And we've done this wherever we've been, and it works wonderfully. First thing we do is we call it, whatever your mascot name is, you know, if we were the Tigers, we'd call it Tiger Football Waiter Day in the cafeteria, or Tiger Basketball Waiter Day in the cafeteria. Now, we'd tell our kids beforehand, and we'd publicize it all through the school, that Wednesday on this date, from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock, the Tiger football players are going to be your waiters in the cafeteria. That's all we'd say. Now, we told our kids, and we would brief them before they went out and did this. We'd have them wear their jerseys, but we'd tell them, now here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a couple of guys at the door welcoming people like maitre d's. And then we're also going to have some people that are responsible for each table, just like a waiter. And then we're going to have some people that are just going to be on the lookout and help out and just, rotate in. Now, here's what's fun about this. The kids we tell them, have as much fun as you want, but we're there to bless people. And we don't expect anything in return. If somebody asks you why you're doing this, just say, hey, you know what, our head coach is trying to teach us about servant leadership, so we have to do this. Just put it back on the coach. Gets them off the hook. Anyway, we do this, and here's what we discovered. The kids, all they do is they fill people's drinks up at the drink machine. They take people's trays back for them when they're finished. They go get them a dessert if they're done. They take their trash to the garbage and throw it out if they want, or to the dishwasher. Hey, you just help them out. That's all we do. And they're responsible for their table. They can have as much fun as they want. Now, here's what we found. After this, before this, we also tell them that there are going to be some people that just don't like what they're doing. They're not going to appreciate it, they're not going to understand it, and they're going to probably make fun of them. And we tell them again, hey, just kick the dust off your shoes and keep moving. Just do what you do and rise above it. Okay? So after we do this, though, it's really fun. We bring them back in the room immediately after. We don't wait for another day or something like that. We do it immediately after. And we say to them, okay, let's talk a little bit. We debrief. And we say, what was it like in the cafeteria? What was the atmosphere like, the climate when they first came in? And they said, well, boy, it was really tense. They didn't really know what we were doing and this and that. And I said, well, what was the climate like at the end of the day in the cafeteria? Oh, they loved us. They thought it was great. They just loved the fact that we were blessing them and we could help them. And, well, what about those people that made fun of you and were kind of mean to you? He goes, oh, you told us they'd be like that, so we just didn't worry about it. Again, another thing we did along with these waiter days is we'd send them to the local Burger King or McDonald's and have them stand by the drink machines and fill people's soda pops up. We asked them afterwards, what was it like? And they go, well, you know what? Some people wouldn't let us do it. And the same thing happened in the cafeteria. I go, what do you mean? They wouldn't let you help? And they go, no. They thought if we helped them, they'd have to help us somehow. And then I'd say, oh, so do you think we live in a world of equity where the only way I'm going to help you is if you can do something for me? And they go, yeah, that's exactly the kind of world we live in. And I go, well, geez, if that's the case, how would anything ever get done? And they go, what do you mean? I said, well, like on our football team or our basketball team. If the only reason I ever did anything for you guys was because I figured you'd win games for me, well, you're going to know that after a while, and you're not going to really appreciate me a whole lot because I don't care about you. All I care about is that you win games for me. And they go, yeah, that's right. And I go, well, how important is it then that we don't worry about that this guy has to do this for me in order for me to do this? And they go, well, really important. And I go, especially on our team. It's paramount that we understand we are men and women built for others to help other people. Now, the world doesn't teach them that. The world teaches them to get all they can get for themselves, and the only way they help somebody else is if they get something in return. We're flipping that model upside down just like Jesus did. It's a whole nother way. Here's the deal. When you start coaching like this and you start developing players and teams like this, all of a sudden I've seen the climate and the culture of the programs and the teams change drastically, and it's a positive environment that everybody wants to be a part of, including parents and administrators. Secondly, I've seen great players play unbelievable, average players play great, good players play above average, and players that don't have a whole lot of athletic ability play as good as the average guys. It's amazing because they start believing in themselves and they don't worry about the world standards. All they worry about is what they can be the best for themselves. Now, here's another idea for you that you can implement with your teams. And we've talked about this a little bit, but we called it a quality use of a waste of time. Now, it's real important that you understand where I'm going with this.